Canadian Exhibition Centre on our right. Now, Trafalgar Square is in memory of the Battle of Trafalgar, 1805, Nelson's greatest victory against the Napoleonic fleet. There's Nelson's flagship victory in the bottle there, the ship in the bottle, the artist Jinkers on there. Nelson's column is the same height as the main mast on his flagship victory, 169 feet tall. Nelson's on top of the column facing Portsmouth, southwest, where the victory is in dry dock. There are 4 great lions at the base of Nelson's column, and each one depicts the victory of Lord Nelson's, the Battle of St. Vincent's, the Battle of the Nile, the Battle of Copenhagen, and of course the Battle of Trafalgar. There's our Olympic clock over there, 300 days to go, a countdown clock before the opening ceremony. Just over to your left and behind you. When they turned this clock on 5 months ago, it ran for quite a while and stopped. I got it working again pretty quick, but it was running forwards. The Olympics was actually getting further away. It's working now. For how long? We're going to head west, which is behind us. Trafalgar Square. Look over to your right-hand side. Whitehall, down the end of Whitehall, Parliament, Big Ben. Admiralty Arch to your right, looking through Admiralty Arch, Buckingham Palace, right down the end of the Mall. Straight ahead of us, Buckingham Palace. Anytime we have any flyovers in London, the planes come over the Strand behind us, over Admiralty Arch, down the Mall, and over Buckingham Palace, where the Queen receives them on the balcony. We'll be stopping at the Palace in about 35 minutes. The first palace we'll have a close view of will be St. James's Palace, built for Henry VIII, 1532. Now, we always know if the Queen's in London. If the Queen's in London, we'll see 2 guards right outside St. James's Palace. If the Queen's not in London, no guards. Up until 5 years ago, St. James's was the home of Prince Charles, Camilla, Prince William, and Prince Harry. Apart from Prince William now, they all live just behind St. James's Palace. Clarence House. We're going to pass our visitor centre along here on the left. Our walking tour tomorrow at 10:30 will take you to the changing of the guard, get you a good spot to stand and explain all about the guard change. It leaves here tomorrow on your left at 10:30, the changing of the guard walk. All our walking tours are free. We're coming into Pall Mall, the first street in the country gas-lit, 1807, full of exclusive clubs. On our left, the IOD, the Institute of Directors. For well over 100 years, strictly an all-male club. Margaret Thatcher changed all that. The First Lady allowed into this all-male club. The golden figure of Athena on our left. This is the Athenaeum Club, a literary club. H.G. Wells, Mark Twain, Charles Dickens were all members of this club on our left. Around the World in 80 Days, the book by Jules Verne. Phileas Fogg started that journey on the left. That's the Reform Club. Are we all still around, are we? This is one of the largest of the private clubs on our left. This is the Royal Automobile Club. I've been a member of the RAC for 40 years. They've never asked me to join this club. I think it's because I come from Southwark. I think that might have something to do with it. One of the facilities in there, an Olympic-length swimming pool, but I've never seen it. Now, St. James's Palace, built for Henry VIII, is coming into view shortly. Look ahead of you, over to the left, the brown building, there it is. Queen Victoria married here in 1840. George IV was born here. Camilla, Prince Charles, and Prince Harry live just at the back of this palace. Down to our left, any guards? Not unless they've drastically changed uniform. No guards. The Queen's not in London. On our right, the shop where Laurel and Hardy used to get their bowler hats made. Number 6 on your right, Lock. Johnny Depp had some hats made in here 4 weeks ago. World famous hatters. Lots of lovely old shops along here. On our left, on the corner, the blue shop, Justerini and Brooks. Wine merchants to the royal household. If you've ever tried any J&B whiskey, that's what the J&B stands for, Justerini and Brooks. Prince Charles's club coming up on our right. Just over to the right ahead of us here, the two black lamps and the black door. Now this is White's Club. It's the oldest, it's the very poshest club in town. It's the only club Prince Charles is a member of. It's another club I'm not a member of. David Cameron is also a member of this club. White's. 200 yards ahead of us in Brunton Street, Berkeley Square, Mayfair, where our Queen was born 85 years ago. Queen Elizabeth II, the oldest monarch this country's ever had. She's still very fit. Fabulous Ritz Hotel, the finest afternoon teas in the land served at the Ritz. Afternoon tea here, £47 per person. What a snip. And there can be around a 10 to 12 week waiting list for a table at the Ritz. This is Green Park on our left, the smallest of the royal parks. It's called Green Park because there are no flowers in this park.
What?
There used to be flowers back in the days of Charles II. His nickname was the Merry Monarch because he had many female admirers and at least 17 illegitimate children. Yes, we could have royalty on this park. We probably have. Now, Charles II was caught picking flowers in this park by his wife, Catherine de Braganza. She, thinking the flowers were for one of his many lady friends, she had all the flowers taken out of the park. She planted most of them after all. The only flowers you ever see in this park are wild spring flowers. This was a favorite spot for duelists in the 18th century, also where Handel's water music was first performed, before being performed on the Thames for George I, 1717. The smallest of the royal parks. You'll see how small the park is when you get to these blue gates on your left. Look to the left and you'll see across the park the Buckingham Palace. On our right here, these 6 white lamps, this is the Japanese embassy on our right-hand side. We have the Park Lane Hotel coming up on our right and the Athenaeum. Past the flags on our right, the blue flags, there are 2 telephone boxes outside the world's first Hard Rock Cafe and Hard Rock shop, opened in 1971 by the great Tony Curtis. In this Hard Rock shop, the Beatles guitars, Jimi Hendrix guitars, Eric Clapton's, the Stones, Rod Stewart's tights, Elton John's socks. Tempting, isn't it? Very tempting. The world's first. 40 years it's been open. Picture of Sir Paul in the window there with his mum. Just ahead of us is one of the busiest junctions in the world, the Duke of Wellington Place. And we'll see where the first Duke of Wellington lived. He had an incredible career. After leaving the army, of course, Duke of Wellington became Prime Minister, a great advisor to the young Queen Victoria, and then he was the head warden of the Tower of London. That's when they drained the moat at the Tower, when the Duke of Wellington was in charge. Where the first Duke of Wellington lived. If you look over to your right, where the traffic's coming from, that large sandy building over there with the green railings round, he was given that house after the Battle of Waterloo, 1815. That house has the easiest address in town to remember. It's number 1, London. Straight ahead of us, that long brick wall surrounds the Queen's private garden straight ahead. Buckingham Palace Gardens, 40 acres. But this wall and the electric fence hasn't kept everyone out. Now, if you look just ahead of you over to the right, we've got the Queen's Lifeguard, the household cavalry. They're going to come across the road in front of us. Thanks, George. There they are. George has got us here in brilliant time. These are Irish thoroughbreds. There are at least 16 hands. Each soldier has 51 separate items of uniform. They're going down a Horse Guards parade, which we'll see later on. Now the Blues and Royals, which was Prince William and Prince... On top of the arch, descending into the chariot of war. The Australian War Memorial on our right here on the corner. On the far corner is the New Zealand War Memorial for Anzac, the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps. Hyde Park ahead of us, 360 acres. And it used to be one of Henry VIII's old hunting grounds. This is the Lanesborough Hotel on our left. A couple of years ago, I was telling people that this is where Michael Jackson always stayed when he came to London. I was saying that on the Thursday, on the Friday it gone. Tragic. What an incredibly talented man. The Lanesborough Hotel on our left, a very, very exclusive hotel. Now, number 1 London over there to our right is called number 1, but when it was built, it was the first house you saw enter London from the west. The west is our left. Down there is Knightsbridge, that's the closest station to Harrods. Further down is Kensington. Absolute House, number 1 London. The Queen lives at 1A, 1AA. The 7th Duke of Wellington lives on the top of this building now. Apsley House. Number 1 London. Now we're coming into Park Lane heading north. The gates coming up shortly on our left-hand side are the Queen Elizabeth Queen Mother gates, opened in 1990 for the Queen Mother's 90th birthday. The Queen Mother was the first royal to reach 100. She lived to 102. Here are the gates on your left. Also coming up on our left, England's first nude statue, Achilles, unveiled in the 1820s. When this statue was unveiled, a couple of ladies fainted. It's a shame. Now stop for the Hard Rock Cafe, Hard Rock Shop. Over to our right, we have the tallest hotel in London, the London Hilton. We'll be coming down that side when we've gone around Marble Arch. Next stop, Speaker's Corner, Marble Arch. Speaker's Corner only comes alive on Sundays, and that's where the speakers have to be at least 6 inches off the ground. It's where the saying, getting on your soapbox, comes from Speaker's Corner. They can talk about anything they want to. The only rules that apply, they mustn't blaspheme, they can't be obscene, decry the monarchy or incite riot. It derives from the days of the Tyburn Gallows, where we had public execution for 500 years, up until 1783. We will actually pass the very spot where the gallows used to be, and they could hang up to 24 people at one time at the Tyburn Gallows. There's the Dorchester to your right. George Clooney was here a month ago. Johnny Depp a few weeks back. Sex and the City Girls stayed here when they premiered their latest film in Leicester Square. Will Smith and his son was here when his son premiered The Karate Kid. More about the Dorchester when we come back down here. So many people attended the public executions, they made the days a public holiday. Less than 100 years after the last execution, the right of assembly was passed and freedom of speech has gone on ever since in Speaker's Corner. For centuries, this area of town ahead of us was called Tyburn. It was only called Marble Arch when Marble Arch was built here in 1851. The arch originally stood outside Buckingham Palace. Queen Victoria obviously didn't like the look of Marble Arch, and apparently she had a carriage made a little bit too wide to go through the centre, so they had to move it. And they moved it here, stone by stone. Marble Arch ahead of us. The Speaker's Corner coming up on our left. Now on Sunday, the speakers can stand anywhere they want to, on the left, as long as they're not on the grass. Now again, this is where you'll change for the red route if you want to go to Madame Tussauds. Also, if you want a language bus, you can change here for the red. Up until the early 1960s, Hyde Park came out as far as these trees on the right-hand side. There was only the one park lane, the one that now heads south. Now 3 sets of traffic lights from here is where the gallows used to be. It's going to come up on our left-hand side. We're going to pass a green road sign. and the green road sign, where it meets the pavement, you'll see a round white stone plaque. It's about the size of a dustbin lid. It's on the pavement. It has a cross in the center, writing on the outside that says the site of the Tyburn tree, but it was in fact a man-made gallows. Prisoners were brought to the gallows in the back of wagons from Newgate Prison, which is now where the Old Bailey stands. They were brought down the Tyburn Way, which we now call Oxford Street, over to our right. As they were coming down the Tyburn Way, people would come out of the taverns and ask if they can give the prisoners one last drink, one for the road, the last road they would see. Sometimes the wardens would allow them to have a drink, but if they weren't in a good mood, they would say they can't have a drink, they're on the wagon. The horse's head are outright. Nick Vidian Green, an equine artist, put the idea of the horse's head from the Elgin Marbles of the British Museum. Over to the left, we'll take you down to Notting Hill and the Portobello Road Market. Now not this set of lights, the next set, just round the corner. The green road sign that says the Ring Road, the City, Kilburn and Paddington. It's ahead of you, over to the left, the green road sign. Now look where this green road sign on your left joins the pavement. You'll see the round white stone plaque down there. That's where we had public executions for 500 years. Even worse than that, fellas. Look straight ahead of us. Oxford Street. One of the longest shopping streets in the world. There's over 60 ladies' shoe shops down here. My wife was telling me a few months back, Selfridges have now given an entire floor to ladies' shoes. Oxford Street really needed more ladies' shoes. Some of our best department stores now. Mayfair to our left. Gerald Grosvenor, the Duke of Westminster, owns most of Mayfair and all of Belgravia. Forget shoe shops, proper shops here, boys. Look down to your left. Lamborghini, Ferrari, McLaren, Porsche. Yes, beautiful British cars.
That's a lot.
Anyone for Oxford Street? This is our stop. The street for ladies' feet. No one's coming down, George. Aston Martin coming up on our left. Brand new designs. These designs are only about 4 days old now. They had a champagne do here the other night to display these new cars. Another party I wasn't invited to. Yeah, Gerald Grosvenor, one of the richest men of the country. Belgravia, the area of town where the television series Upstairs, Downstairs was based on, their fabulous 5-story houses. We're going to go through Belgravia. We're going to pass a lot of famous people's homes. Here's Aston Martin on your left. There are lots of embassies in Mayfair. The largest embassy in town, the American Embassy. This is Park Lane South, heading south. Someone once said that's why they put the revolving door in the front of the door. Through the cellars, it appears, to no coward. Back in the 80s, Sylvester Stallone was married on the roof of the Dorchester. Prince Philip had his stag night here with Lord Mountbatten. On your left, the fabulous Dorchester Hotel. It opened in 1930. Hotel built in London.
To the streets.
Once again, we'll see the Wellington Arch ahead of us. On top of the Wellington Arch, the largest bronze statue in Europe, 52 tons. Peace descending into the chariot. On the other side of this roundabout, where the trees are, straight ahead, the Queen's private garden. Buckingham Palace Garden is 40 acres. And that long brick wall, straight ahead of us on the other side there, hasn't kept everyone out. Now some of you are bound to remember this. Back in 1982, a man called Michael Fagan, late one evening, got over that wall into the grounds, then made his way into Buckingham Palace. You remember this? He stole a bottle of wine, then made his way upstairs to the Queen's bedroom. The Queen was asleep, she was alone. He sat on the edge of the Queen's bed, drinking the wine. It wasn't until he opened Her Majesty's curtain she actually woke up. She pressed the alarm, it didn't work, so she had to sit there talking to him for around 20 minutes until help finally arrived. Frighteningly true. 8 years ago, 2 men got over the wall in the electric fence and pitched a tent in Buckingham Palace garden. When they were asked by a couple of irate guardsmen what they thought they were doing, they said they thought they were in Hyde Park. Well, it's easily done, isn't it? I mean, you can get through Hyde Park, you trip up, fall under this wall, up goes your tent. How did Michael Fagin find the Queen's bedroom? There were 750 rooms in Buckingham Palace. I'm pretty sure the Queen's bedroom isn't signposted. Queen's bedroom, 23rd door down, left-hand side. Everything that can be open to the public at Buckingham Palace is now open until the 3rd of this month. It's been open since the end of July. Now this is Belgravia on your right, where the television series Upstairs, Downstairs was based on. 2 former James Bonds have London homes in Belgravia. Roger Moore, Sean Connery. Margaret Thatcher has a London home in Belgravia. Her neighbour, Andrew Lloyd Webber. Joan Collins, her neighbour, J.K. Rowling. Liz Hurley, Omar Sharif. We're going to pass some of those houses as we leave Victoria Station, the next stop. We're going to walk down here at the bottom set of lights. We're going to pass the Goring Hotel. The Goring is where Kate Middleton and the Middleton family stayed before the royal wedding 5 months back. We're going to pass that shortly. Just inside the wall here we can see 2 cottages. These are the Queen's Gardeners cottages. Behind these cottages and to the left are what's called Grace and Favour apartments. Some of the staff that work in the palace live here. They live here rent-free. If they're still working at the palace when they retire, they can stay here for the rest of their life. A full complement of staff in the palace will be around 350. Most days the Queen just has a skeleton staff of around 60. I know what you're thinking. How does she manage? How does she cope? Here's the Goring. Look down here to your right. The purple flags of the Goring on your right. Now up until 1851 we had a window tax in this country, which meant the larger the house you had, probably the more windows. And you paid tax on the amount of windows. The way a lot of people got around this tax was to brick them up. But they did feel this was robbing them of their daylight. This is where I was saying daylight robbery comes from, the window tax we have. Now when we go through Belgravia, even though it's one of the most exclusive areas of town, we're going to see a lot of buildings with bricked up windows. The palace is to your left. Buckingham Palace, we'll be stopping there in 10 minutes. Now the Victoria Palace Theatre is down to our left with the traffic lights, and the Elliott down here to your left. On top of the Billy Elliott Theatre is a golden ballerina down there on the left. The golden ballerina is Pavlova. Our stop at Victoria Station coming up. This area of town is named after the longest serving monarch to date, Queen Victoria, who reigned for over 63 years. She did come to the throne at the age of 18. Queen Elizabeth II was 26 when she came to the throne. Queen Elizabeth, the oldest monarch this country's ever had. There's Victoria Station on your left. It opened in 1860. It's hardly changed at all on the outside. It has its own bus station. You can get a red bus from here to practically anywhere in the capital. Our stop coming up for Victoria Station. Now we're going to turn right at the lights to go through Belgravia. Our next stop will be for Buckingham Palace. The next stop. Now if Margaret Thatcher's in when we pass her turning, we always know when Margaret Thatcher's in. We'll see a policeman or a policewoman standing right outside of a house, number 73. She's having some work done in the front of the house now, so there'll be a scaffolding up and then you'll see the policeman at the bottom. Her neighbour, Andrew Lloyd Webber, his London home. I often wonder if she ever has to pop next door and ask him to keep his music down. Would you mind keeping that music down, please, Andrew? If I hear the Phantom of the Opera one more time. This is the Victoria Google building on our right. And don't forget, if you get off at any of our stops, and the next stop is Buckingham Palace, make sure you take everything with you, of course. Have a good look around. But if you just come back to the stop where we dropped you, another bus will pick you up in 10 to 15 minutes. There are plenty of buses. Bricked up windows and daylight robbery. Look down to the traffic lights. Behind the left red traffic light, you can see lots of bricked up windows down here. This is where Belgravia starts, the traffic lights. Now left at the traffic lights at number 180, Mozart was staying down here as a boy in London on a European tour. While he was living down here to our left, he composed his first symphony. He called it his London Symphony. That was when he was 8 years old. Mozart started composing at the age of 4. Right at the traffic lights, Ian Fleming lived down here, the creator of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and of course, James Bond. Look to your right, lots more bricked up windows on the right-hand side. Now this is where Margaret Thatcher lived, the next main turning on the right. She lives 3/4 of the way down, on the right. Look for the scaffolding and the policeman if she's in. To your right here. And then, there's 2 of them down there by the... Oh, 3 of them, is it? 2 of them? So we know Baroness Thatcher's in, 86 this year, her neighbour Andrew Lloyd Webber. Sean Connery has a London home down here to our right. Roger Moore on the other side of the traffic lights. He lives next door to Gerald Roper, the Duke of Westminster. There's Roger Moore's car. Look ahead of you, just in front of the white van, the white convertible Rolls Royce. Roger Moore's number plate is 007. What else? Now Joan Collins' London home, as if we're going to turn right here, this is Belgravia. Over to the right there, as if you were going to turn right at the lights. Just across the road, there's a white building, 3 white pillars. The white building just coming into view is Joan Collins, and next door, number 5, is J.K. Rowling. Now she normally has either a Range Rover or a silver Bentley outside of the house. Where the Range Rover is, J.K. Rowling. More bricked up windows on the right. In the beds of upstairs, downstairs, the families would have lived in the middle floors, the stones at the very top, and the very bottom of the buildings. Buckingham Palace, we're back at the Queen's Gardens cottages, just inside the wall. The palace used to be Buckingham House, owned by the Duke of Buckingham, John Sheffield. Bought off of him in the mid-18th century by George III for £28,000. The first monarch to live in the palace for any length of time was Queen Victoria. Her husband, Prince Albert, died at the age of 42. Queen Victoria reigned for 40 more years after the death of her husband, and she wore black every single day of her life. Every time there was a family portrait of her and their 9 children, there was always either a bust or a photograph of Prince Albert in the family portrait. She died on the Isle of Wight, 1901, in Osborne House, designed for the family by Prince Albert. The Glory coming up again on your right-hand side. To your right. That was 5 months ago. It's impressive. Now, unfortunately, no buses or coaches are allowed across the front of Buckingham Palace. We can only drive down the side. The view gets better as we go down, so if you want to take photographs of the front of the palace, just get off at our next stop. We're going to stop right outside the Queen's Gallery. This is the Royal Mews on our left. All the carriages are in here, the horses that pull the carriages, the Queen's cars, open to the public. You can go around 19 staterooms and around the grounds, and the Queen's Gallery that we're going to stop right outside. Everything that can be open is open. So if you get off at our next stop, look to the traffic lights ahead of us. Now we'll have to turn right at the traffic lights. If you turn left at the bottom, you're at the front of the palace, take your pictures, come back to our stop, another bus will pick you up. 10 to 15 minutes. Plenty of buses. Here's our stop for Buckingham Palace.
Allora,
We have people coming down, George. People coming down. Make sure you take everything with you.
tu stali. Aşkım, şuradan zorla.